Wow, this milestone has really snuck up on me. I think we need a special project, maybe a plaque? As luck would have it, I have the perfect idea in mind. I started with a large walnut blank that I had on hand. It is a bit awkward to handle. I kept bumping into my camera stand, almost knocking it over. I've been wanting to do a project with inlays, epoxy inlays. And I've noticed it is a YouTube tradition to celebrate milestones like this by putting a YouTube logo on something. Seems like a perfect match. I managed to rip off 3 large strips, then turning those and ripping each of those in half. That left me with 6 strips of 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, approximately 30 inches long. I used to use a silicone brush to spread my glue, but have gone back to using a stick because it spreads more evenly. The brush almost acted like a squeegee, making the glue thin in spots. I thought it would also be fun to do a mini Q&A. Maybe answer some of the interesting questions or thoughts that you all have posted over the past 10,000 subscribers. Well, 9,998. So while this glue is drying, let's take a look at our first comments. Where did you learn woodworking? Were you already good at woodworking or have some background in it, as no one just picks this up? So I never had any formal training. I didn't take shop in school, and I haven't taken a lot of classes learning how to use tools or make projects. I've just mainly learned through YouTube. But I just started out small. I wanted to make signs and things for the house. Then it gradually built into something that I wanted to share with others, making sign parties and doing that with my friends. And as time went on, I just wanted to do more elaborate projects. I had a lot of my friends ask me about how I did certain things, how I made my signs. And so from there, I decided to start a YouTube channel and kind of give the step-by-step process that I used so that others could benefit from it. After planing the board, I cut it into strips. To make this easier, I attached a stop with spring clamps. I clear the dust out of the way every so often. Keep sawdust from collecting and affecting the cut length or angle slightly. I like to smooth out the rough edges. It is also a good time to look for knots or holes and move those to the edges. Looks like I missed one there. With all the end grain facing up, I started gluing the strips together. One of the things I've learned from subscriber comments is that exposing the end grain is preferred for cutting boards. End grain cutting boards are more durable and knife friendly. But more importantly for this project, side grain glue joints are stronger than end grain glue joints. Although I am building a plaque, I'm using a checkerboard pattern, so this is theoretically stronger. Plus this way, I could use it for a cutting board in a pinch, or maybe a serving tray. Let's tackle some more questions. Currently binge watching your videos, don't mind me. That's great. That's exactly what they're there for. Thanks for the comment. Quickly cleaning the dried glue off. This provides a flatter surface for the sander. Plus, it won't gum up the sandpaper. Now, the sander doesn't actually work this quickly. The video is sped up a lot. This is the actual speed, but it is still faster than doing it by hand. I found a YouTube logo and printed it on my Cricut. Remember that piece of maple? We'll use it later. And there is a YouTube logo. The throwaway part. Here I am measuring and making reference lines to help me align and center the template. This could have been done by hand, but I like the idea of sticking the white vinyl to the board. It will be easier to see while routing. Now the fun part, using the router to cut out the entire center. You can see my board is shifting right there. It took me a while to find a way to secure the board that would not be in my way or vibrate loose. I ended up using a few sticks of scrap wood as wedges and wedging the board between some bench dogs. This worked well. I tried to get as close to the edge as possible, but left just a bit. This is going to take a while. Let's go find some more questions to answer. You have lots of machines. Do you or your husband do woodworking for a living, or just well-equipped hobbyists? So it started off with just some basic tools to fix things around the house and do projects on our house. And from there, we just found that we needed different tools for different projects, and we would find good deals. And from there, it grew into what we have now in our shop. Ah, your Vizsla is stunning. Thanks for the comment. That's Lily. She's always with me, my great assistant. Beautiful kitty there. That's Savannah. She's our Bengal, and sometimes I think she's a little more dog than cat. She's pretty interesting and fun to have around. The router got a bit tipsy there toward the end, so I finished it up with a hand chisel. And I cleaned up the edges as best I could. This was actually very hard. They say half the distance to the mark you are aiming for, then repeat until you get there. It was at this point I was glad I was pouring epoxy to fill, not trying to inlay another piece of wood. I did some much needed sanding to smooth everything out, and I have to say, it turned out all right. One final piece to quickly cut out. And touching up the 3 edges on the disc sander. All right, it's ready. Now we just need to add the epoxy. How do we buy one? So currently I make some stuff for charity and for auctions, and on occasion, when I have just a surplus of stuff, I have sold stuff at the farmer's market, but I don't currently sell my items. They're usually gifts or presents or just something for our own house. So funny story, did you know the triangle is not centered in the YouTube logo? Yeah, I didn't know either. It is slightly off center, less than 1/4 inch off. It's not bad. Just enough where most people won't notice, but it will drive me absolutely nuts when I spend 2 hours sanding it. The guy who said, measure twice, never mentioned taking a step back and quickly eyeballing it. I used hot glue for a bit of a dam in case the epoxy overflowed. I calculated just enough to cover the entire thing with just a bit extra. Still 9,998. I think we're gonna make it, thanks to the magic of video editing. I wanted to fill with a dark red, but all I had was this light red, almost pink. It didn't feel dark enough, so I added a bit more. It was better, but a bit light for my taste. I added a pinch of black to darken it up. Perfect. I thought I had leveled everything, but while pouring, the epoxy was settling a bit too much to one side. I used a leftover stir stick to shim it up and dump the rest of the epoxy in. While the epoxy dries, beautiful job. Good day from Australia. Thanks for the comment. One of my favorite things about this channel is when I receive comments from around the world. There's Western Australia, greetings from Berlin, Brazil, France, India, North Carolina, which is in the United States, the United Kingdom too, and my home state, Washington. Thanks for commenting, and I enjoy hearing from everybody across the world. Final sanding pass, and we are starting to wrap this project up. Trimming off the rough edges with the miter saw. The long edges would be better done at the table saw, but it was being used as a workbench, and this worked just as well. I went through my normal grip progression, wet the grain, and then continued sanding. Jumped over to the router station, knocked down the sharp corners with a 1/8 inch roundover. I tried something new with the grips by centering them vertically. This way I can use both sides of the board. One side as a cutting board, and the other side as a serving tray. Oh wow, one more subscriber left. I better get cracking. I'm quickly finishing with the final sanding pass. I did notice that the epoxy seemed to sand quicker than the wood. I had to be careful not to press too hard or I would create divots. Using Odie's oil to finish it up. This is food safe and holds up well. The only real negative is the cost. The homemade stuff I tried last time just did not cut it. We made it! Yes, we made it! I could not have done it without all of the support and encouragement that you guys have given me. Please keep it coming. I love reading the comments, and I honestly try to respond to every one of you. Thank you so much. This has been a fantastic accomplishment for the channel, and I can't wait for the next milestone. This turned out great. I think it will be a serving tray and one that I'll put up on with all the rest of my favorite projects when I'm not using it. It will be a great memento and one heck of a conversation starter. I thought about carving 10,000 onto the board as well, but the router and chisel work was a bit more difficult than I anticipated. And honestly, I did run out of time. So that will have to be a project for another week. Right now, I am focusing on building some Adirondack chairs for the front porch and a new dog bowl station with a maple tree that fell during a winter storm last year. If you have ideas or projects that you think I should tackle, please comment below. I would love to hear them. Also, consider following me on Instagram to see what projects are coming next. Thank you for subscribing. Son of a